don't know why I'm so much more nervous this time than last time.
You do seem a little bit more nervous this time.
Oh, goodness. It's you.
Tom is intimidating.
I have that effect on people. And welcome into the Rowdy Studios Talking New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Lennox Industrial Tools 301, our pre-race show. Bassmasters, Buzz Cutler, and Cortney Dryden joining us again.
Hey, y'all.
You were such a success last week that the Rowdy Nation just rose up and demanded your presence.
Well, thank you.
Back in the Rowdy
guys.
studio.
Well, let's talk about New Hampshire. This is a unique racetrack, a little bit like a big Martinsville, but ironically, the banking in the corners here less than that teeny track in Martinsville, Virginia.
Yeah, but that means that all the problems that you have at Martinsville or all the challenges of Martinsville are just sort of exacerbated here at...
It's bigger. You're going faster going into the corner, and the corner's flatter.
Exactly. Tony Stewart talks about finding that balance between turning well through the center and getting back on the gas when you're coming out of the turn.
It's a trade-off of whether your car rotates good through the center, and it seems like if you can get it to rotate through the center, then the challenge is trying to keep the forward drive in it. So it's, if you get good forward drive, you're normally tight in the center. So that's the two variables you fight the most, and the trade-off that you fight, and trying to find that balance between the two and how much you can give up in one area to get in the other area.
It's all about forward bite, handling versus forward bite.
Well, I think the thing here, Courtney, is a lot of places there's a problem. You got to get the car to turn. You still want it tight on the gas. But how much more difficult is that when you're going down a long straightaway, a 1,500-foot straightaway, into a corner that's so darn flat?
Well, and I think it's one of those things that you got to go slower to go faster in the corners here. So
That's
a very good point. I mean, a lot of drivers will tell you it's roll speed through the center of the corner. So you get down there into the corner and you get the car turned, and then you're off the gas and you're off the brake and you're rolling free through the center of the corner. The guy that can get back to the gas sooner and harder is going to be the guy who's able to actually make passes coming off the corner.
Because basically you're elongating the straightaway when you get off that corner and back into the gas.
You're just going faster sooner, dude. That's all you're doing.
Exactly. Now, in terms of this being a big Martinsville, you would have to think that means brakes will come into play, lowing down at the end of those straights to get into the corner. Here's what Paul Menard had to say about that.
Just got to get from the center exit. You got to get as much gas as you can, obviously, and get down the straightaways.
So what do you think, Courtney? Brakes a big deal here?
I think brakes will be a big deal here. And I also think that I definitely don't want to be on the outside of a car going into those turns when brakes are an issue here.
That's true. If your brakes give way, you're going to have a problem. And you could burn your brakes up here if you're not careful. But I think the thing, again, is track position at New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I don't want to shortchange track position, but in some ways we've seen the 1.5 miles and the short track sort of change rules.
I think that's because track positions become so much more important on the faster racetracks, but this has always been a place where it's hard to pass.
But you're going to be more likely to take 2 tires now at a New Hampshire than you would at a Charlotte towards the end of the race.
Well, it could be. I mean, I think if you're looking for a restart at the end of the race, that could be a very big moment here, too.
Well, we got Jeff Burton talking about restarts and how they're pretty dicey here at New Hampshire.
Restarts are tough there. Cars slide around a lot. It's one of the hardest places we go to have good, smooth, clean restarts because the cars don't make a lot of grip for the first 3 or 4 laps.
All right, so drivers, Courtney. Who are the drivers you like at New Hampshire, and who are the drivers you might be a little shy about putting your money on?
All right, well, there are some drivers that do particularly well at this track, and Clint Boyer, it's going to be his 200th Sprint Cup Series start. Mm-hmm. He's won here from the pole. He has won here last season. Is he the easy pick this weekend?
This is a great track for Clint. It's ironic with Clint Boyer because after a rough week last weekend at Kentucky, he really could use a win for the wild card, which he hates. He hates the wild card.
Right? If he gets the wild card.
Another guy who's good here, I think Denny Hamlin's a guy you got to look at.
I think all of Joe Gibbs.
Yep.
It's hard to lean on Joey Logano.
Well, he's actually won here.
I know, but he had, but rain shortened.
Right,
that's correct.
Right.
I think Ryan Newman would be an interesting pick this week.
And we can't talk about New Hampshire without talking about Jimmy Johnson,
that's true.
Right?
Well, every track we can't talk about really without talking about Jimmy Johnson.
Why even talk about it since we have to talk about it?
I feel like now Kyle Busch is one of those people. It's like, who are we going to bet on? It would be easy to say Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch.
All right, so if we had to pin you down for one guy, who would that be?
I think it is going to be Kyle Busch, but I have a dark horse as well. I kind of want to hear if y'all have dark horses too.
Okay.
I'm going out on a limb, which is a dark horse pick, but I really think Brad Keselowski might have something.
Interesting.
I know.
Why?
Okay. Pit strategy, going to be important. Track position, going to be important. And we know he's got the pole. He's had the pole here before. he didn't capitalize on it. I think he's really matured as a driver, as we've seen. I mean, last season, he had 2 top 10s.
Yeah, that was at the very end of the year.
Right, and now this season he's had 4 top 10s in the past 8
Definitely he's
races.
improved. And I think last weekend was great for him.
Right.
That was a real legitimate good run for him.
And I mean, he had the track qualifying record for the pole that he won here too. So I think if he can get into position this weekend, that he'll be able to capitalize on it, unlike he has in past years at this track.
You know, you've got 3 guys who are strong on this track but have underperformed on the season. Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart, and Clint Boyer, the other guy who's underperformed this season but is strong at this track. He's the other guy I was trying to think of. So those are 3 guys who need to make a statement, who need to grab some momentum.
Right.
And this is a track at which any of those 3 could do it. So I'm going to pick amongst those 3, Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer. Probably the safest of those 3 is Denny Hamlin, so I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin's a good pick here. Obviously, he's won at Michigan, and he's in the chase now, in chase position now, so he looks pretty good. I really like Ryan Newman. I really like Ryan Newman at this racetrack. I'm going to go with Ryan. Maybe not the most obvious pick, but I like Ryan Newman. All right, that's been your Rowdy.com look at the Lennox Industrial Tools 301. We'll be back on Monday to talk about what happened for Cortney Dryden and Buzz Cutler. My name is Bass Masters.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.